some secrets probably should never get revealed. What happened to MCU in the last few years? From the hottest thing in the history of cinema, the most earning movie franchise in history, a trendsetter, a tide changer, from one of the most beloved things in big budget cinema, we got here, where MCU for the last few years was going down in interest and earnings, where the reception of their newest projects gets colder and colder, and to a point where even some of the most hardcore MCU fans no longer watch everything. How did we get here? Well, except the oversaturation of the market, no idea how to do TV, formula no longer working and becoming boring, spreading themselves too thin with too many projects, and changing trends. If you ask me, of course. So, when I heard that they are going to make a TV show that will be more of a spy show, make it more down to earth, and put Nick Fury as the main character, I was less excited than I probably should be. I'm kinda done with all the new MCU bullshits, especially their TV stuff, cause those are especially hopeless. Except Moon Knight and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all of these shows are bad. But still, it sounded kinda fresh, kinda different, maybe it will be good. Well, was it? I guess let's start from what this show was promised to be and what exactly did we get. The show was advertised as this big intrigue where anybody could be a Skrull. You don't know who is real, don't trust anybody. And we follow Nick Fury, who is supposed to unravel this intrigue, and we got promised this great spy show, but also a buddy cop, kinda? All of that, very promising stuff, not gonna lie. Well, all of those promises, all of that very good sounding stuff is what we call in this business a complete and utter bullshit. We got nothing of all those promises, except the buddy cop, kinda, I guess, but only for a very short moment. There is no intrigue. We know every time if a person we see on the screen is a Skrull or not, except maybe one. They hide themselves for the entirety, not even the entirety, for half a goddamn episode. And that's it. There is zero twists, there is zero turns in this story, nothing is unexpected, it's all too predictable. This is the most by the numbers cookie cutter, adding nothing of its own thing MCU probably ever done. It just ends up being a typical Marvel movie, but in 6 episodes. I wish I could say more about this story, but it's too generic to say anything really. Good guy accidentally wrongs the bad guy, so bad guy wants to destroy all humans and the good guy has to stop him. You've seen it 1,000 times. I've seen it 1,000 times. Nothing innovative, but they add absolutely nothing to it. If we got delivered what was promised, it could have been good, but because it's just so by the numbers, there really is no reason to be invested in this show. Also, and one very big thing about it is how stupid are the ideas that they put in it. There is a few moments where I asking myself, how did this make air? How did a group of writers wrote this on paper and said, yeah, this is good? Gave it to the showrunner, who said, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Then it was played during the shoots, and then Kevin Feige watched this and said, yep, this is it, guys. Also, while I kinda mentioned it, can someone actually tell Marvel Studios that TV shows aren't just movies split into episodes? It's a problem with every single show of theirs. Even the ones I liked, they are writing them like movies, and they don't write them like individual episodes, like their own individual things. They are just a part of the whole experience. They don't work as their own separate pieces, which is the most basic thing about television. Something as basic as splitting an individual episode into 3 acts, like, every single story thing in history, doesn't exist. I don't watch your series to just see twice as long movie, but split into episodes. I want them to be their own thing, but no, they either don't know how to make a show or they just don't care enough to make it. And it's kinda sad because it feels like we went back. Because before Marvel Studios started making those TV shows, Marvel gave their rights to variety of different TV stations and streaming services, and while not all of them hit, they were different from MCU and from each other. Every single TV station had their own styles. It provided some great options for Marvel fans who didn't really just want to watch MCU over and over, and it kept MCU itself fresh and its own thing. And I attribute it as one of the reasons why Marvel is currently in the place that it is, because there is no variety for Marvel. You either get all the MCU stuff or you get nothing. Everything is the same. No variety, no nothing. We just get the same thing over and over again. And we may be nearing its breaking point where people just have enough. We probably reached it with this show. One other thing about the story, the Skrull plans is dumber than a bag of rocks. It's overcomplicated, will lead to a lot of deaths for no reason, and just doesn't really make sense in general. They could have achieved the exact same outcome they are trying to achieve without any of this hoopla and without single one of them dying. But of course, it has to be stupid, it has to be overcomplicated, because no one thought for one goddamn second about anything about the story of this show, or at least it feels like it. It's filled with plot holes, logical, nonsensical character decisions, and just so many stupid mistakes, like my god. Okay, let's give the story a break. Let's get to our main character, Nick Fury. We love Nick Fury. I love Nick Fury. I was kinda excited to see what they are going to do with Fury in the driver's seat. Finally. So they set up in the first episode that he's old, tired, and that he has PTSD because of the blip. They didn't set it up well, mind you, but they did at least set it up. It's at least something. The idea is kind of interesting. What did they do with it? They forget it after the first episode. Yep, there is a setup for a character arc. It's immediately forgotten, and he is just doing Nick Fury stuff for the rest of the show, except one small addition that is kinda important, but it's also a spoiler, so hush hush. But it's not really interesting enough or written particularly well to make us care, so the show kinda lacks in the main character department, which also is a problem with every single character in this show. Then don't really do anything with anybody, except maybe one character, but that's it. Let's quickly skim through all the important side characters, because there isn't much there. Talos is probably the best character in the show. Ben Mendelsohn is great, some great character bits. You just feel like he's heavily underutilized, in my opinion. He should have had a much bigger role in this show than he has. Kind of a disappointment, but at the same time, when he's on screen, I'm happy, so you know what, I won't be complaining about him that much. Gaia is okay, I guess. Emilia Clarke is pretty good. She is the only character that has an arc throughout the show, I guess. Not a great one, but there is at least something. Sonya was definitely my favorite part of the show. Olivia Colman is the absolute greatest, and she seems like she has time of her life in this show, and I just couldn't help but smile when she was on screen. Mind you, her character adds absolutely nothing to the show, but I will never complain about Olivia Colman having fun on screen. I can watch her doing anything for the rest of my life and I would be a happy camper. Everyone else is completely unimportant and or adds absolutely nothing to the show. Let's now go to our main villain, Gravik. Can the main body save this ship from sinking? Well, unfortunately, he absolutely can't. I would even make a pretty educated guess that he may be the worst villain in MCU history. He is beyond horrible. He is so boring, bland, one-dimensional, and completely lacks any sort of aura because the writing of this character just isn't there. His motivation is really far-fetched. He's supposed to be the leader of the Skrulls, but we don't really see a single reason why would he be. his plan is horrible and he is just an unwanted presence on the screen, and it's just sad. And I feel sorry for the actor cause Kingsley Ben-Adir tries his best to give him something. But the directors seem to have no idea what they want to do with him on screen, or who they want him to actually be. It's a complete murder of I guess a pretty good concept on paper, kinda. Gravik is also the biggest source of CGI in this show, so let's quickly talk about the visuals of this series. How is Marvel getting worse at visual effects? How? They spend more and more, and the CGI gets worse every single time. And I don't blame the CGI people. I know their job is very difficult and stressful and time consuming, and they don't give them enough time to cook anything up. But everyone is complaining about the visuals in MCU for quite a bit. And instead of it getting better, it gets fucking worse. Will they get it together someday? Probably not. Yeah, this show is visually hideous and I'm done with the excuses. Give the visual effects people time and resources to work, for fuck's sake. And show them some fucking respect, okay? Can we, finally? I wish. Well, let's get to more heavy stuff. Let's talk about 3 biggest controversies surrounding this show, cause boy I have some things to say. First, they are kinda promoting Russia in this show. Most of the show happens there. They are a big power player in this show, and they kinda try to promote this country in this show a bit, I guess. Which my question is, are you all fucking dumb? They raided Ukraine for no fucking reason a year and a half ago. The war that is still going to this day. People die every goddamn day, caused tons of pointless deaths and pain, and you decided to kinda promote them? Are you fucking serious? Did you just lose your damn minds? Couldn't the show happen in one of the imaginary Marvel countries like some Latveria or some other Madripoor? I cannot believe they can be ignorant enough to do something so fucking stupid. I cannot even comprehend it, to be honest. How was this allowed? Well, let's move on before I completely lose my shit. Second one being the pretty clear parallel between the Skrulls and the immigrants, mostly the Middle Eastern ones. Skrulls in this show moved to Earth because the place they lived in was destroyed by war. Humans kinda took them in. Then some of the Skrulls decided that they didn't like the humans and that they don't really have their own place to live in. And the fact they are kinda being used and treated worse than humans. So they decide to cause acts of terrorism and want to kill humans. Yeah, the parallel is very, very obvious. And you know, the most basic idea of talking about this topic could be good. You could add some layers to the conversation. But the problem itself is so layered and sensitive that it's very difficult to talk about. They clearly have no idea what to say on that topic. And honestly, I don't even think they connected the dots. I'm not sure that they are aware that this parallel even exists, which tells you even more how disconnected this show and its creators are from the real world and from the product they created. I guess if you do not connect the two, it shouldn't really impact your viewing experience in my opinion, but this is definitely something that should be mentioned and is really clear. You don't have to think that much to connect the dots. Third controversy, and probably the biggest / loudest one, is obviously the intro. For those of you who don't know, the intro to this show was not made by real human animators. It was created by AI. A very early version and a pretty shitty version, if I say so myself. While they were promoting the show, they said that the AI would do a good reflection of the Skrulls in this show as an imperfect reflection of a human being. Which is complete bullshit, because A, this narrative doesn't work, because Skrulls in this show and in Marvel in general are supposed to be a perfect replacement of humans. You shouldn't be able to differentiate a Skrull and a human being. That's the goddamn point. This shitty generated intro isn't reflecting that motive at all. They just did it because it's the cheapest option, let's not lie to each other, and because, again, they hate people who do visual effects and animating for them. B, it looks like complete ass. C, which is probably the most insulting, they did it in the middle of the writer's strike, where one of the main reasons for the strike is that the writers want regulations for the usage of AI in writing TV shows and movies. These people fight for their fucking life, for their jobs and for their future, so they don't get replaced for the cheaper and worse option. And these greedy fucking bastards upstairs put out this piece of hot garbage intro like they want to mock them. It's a complete mockery. This is an unforgivable piece of tomfoolery on the part of Marvel, and I hope the writers and actors guilds smoke their asses up. Writers deserve better, actors deserve better. I want to quickly mention the ending of the show itself. The last episode is pretty horrid as a whole. The final fight may be the worst thing that ever happened in MCU. So uncreative, so terrible looking, and so dumb. They also don't end any storylines. The series just leaves in a super awkward place for the Marvels to pick up. I don't really know what happened there, except Marvel always leaves the worst stuff for the last episode, I guess. But the ending of the show is pretty goddamn awful. So, in conclusion, is this show good? Honestly, I really thought it could have been, but the execution leaves so much to be desired. Except for Olivia Colman being the best, fun exchanges between Fury and Talos, and Fury and Sonya, and Talos being in general a pretty good character, this show doesn't seem to do anything right. From lack of story, not writing any character arcs, to a terrible villain and a horrific mess of a finale, this show doesn't really provide anything engaging and leaves MCU somehow in a worse spot than it was before this show. A low 2, I guess. Well, hey, but that's my opinion. If you disagree with me, if you want to just discuss this show, or if you just want to leave your opinion, come on in the comments.